lab, you're gonna get your tray. You'll have a small beaker on your tray. Bring that up to the front of the room and take some of your copper 2 sulfate pentahydrate. You're also gonna need a balance. Bring all that stuff to your bench, and then you can get started. So the first step says to clean and dry your evaporating dish. This is an evaporating dish. So you're gonna rinse it out. You can just use the sink for that and dry it off with a paper towel. Once it's dry, you're going to turn on your balance, make sure that it says 0, and then put your evaporating dish on the balance. Record that mass, you're gonna need it later. With the evaporating dish still on the balance, hit the T button, that means tare, that will put it at 0. And then you're gonna take your scoopula and get about 2 grams of your copper 2 sulfate in your evaporating dish. It doesn't need to be exactly 2, but whatever you get, make sure you record that exact mass in your data table. Okay, so if it's 2.1, then write 2.1. You're then going to take your wire gauze off of your tray, that's what this is, and place it on top of your ring. That's part of your ring stand. You can then take your evaporating dish and put that on top of the wire gauze. This is called a watch glass. You want to put that on top of your evaporating dish. Make sure it's like a bowl, not a dome, so it's curved downward. And go ahead and put that right there. So this is your setup for your lab. Next, we're going to want to set up your Bunsen burner. This is your Bunsen burner. It has a little tube. That tube goes right on the nozzle that's attached to the gas valve. And you control your burner through the gas valve. So when we're ready to turn it on, we'll move the gas valve so that it's in line with the hose. And then when you're done, you'll move it so that it is not in line with the hose. It doesn't matter what direction. You can either move it towards you or away from you, it doesn't matter. When you're ready, you're going to turn it on and use this to light it. It takes a little bit of a technique. You'll see even sometimes it takes me a few tries. But you want to keep scratching and you'll see that a spark will show up, and that's what you're going to try to light the burner with. So you turn on the gas, make sure it's in line with the hose, and then you just do that little sparky thing, that actually went pretty fast, until you get a flame, okay? Do not turn the gas on until you're ready to start lighting it, because if you wait too long, we'll fill up the room with gas because it won't be being burned off. So make sure you're ready. Now we're going to use the burner to dehydrate our copper 2 sulfate. When you touch the burner, you don't want to touch any of the metal parts because it can get pretty hot pretty fast. You'll notice that there's an outer light blue flame and an inner dark blue flame for most of your burners. Some of them are really old and don't have that, and that's okay. The inner flame is a lot hotter, so you want to try to use that until you see that maybe it's burning, and then you'll use the outer flame. To move the burner, you want to touch it on the rubber part. If you go to the very end of the hose, you'll see that there's kind of like a handle almost in there because the metal part is underneath the rubber. That's where you can control the burner best from. So to do that, you'll go up here, and I'm going to use my hottest part unless I see it starting to burn the substance in there. Okay? And when you see that it's getting a little too red, just take the burner out, let it cool off for a bit, and then go back in there. Okay? You don't want to move the Bunsen burner too close because you can put out the flame. So just like this much distance is pretty good. And you're going to keep doing that for about 5 minutes until your substance inside the dish is white. That is your judgment call. Do not call me over and ask, is this white enough? You want to use your own judgment to see when you think the colorless powder is colorless enough. If you notice that it's starting to clump up or it's harder to get some of that blue out, you can turn off your burner for a second and use your hot sands protectors, because remember, this is all going to be really hot because you've been putting fire on it. Take off your watch glass And you can use your glass stirring rod to move it around a little bit to kind of break it up. And then continue heating it. You can light your burner again and put your watch glass back on, like so. And then you just continue heating it until you get it to be colorless. So you keep doing that. I'm not gonna make you sit here and wait while I do that. And when you are done, you turn off the burner. Again, you turn it off by moving the burner to either towards you or away from you. It doesn't matter which way. And then you're going to take off your watch glass using your hot hands protector and let that cool for a few minutes. Even if you let it cool for a while, still use the hot hands because it's not going to be totally cold. Then you're going to take this, turn on your balance, make sure it's at 0 again, and put the entire thing on your balance and record that mass. And that's why we took the mass of the evaporating dish at the beginning, because now we need to subtract that. So you'll subtract the mass of the evaporating dish and get just the mass of your dehydrated powder. And then the last thing I'm going to have you do is take your squirt bottle and just add more water so you can see what happens when you do that, and then record your observations. There will be a waste container up front. So once this is ready to go, you'll bring it up front. I would also bring your glass stirring rod just in case, because the wet powder sometimes sticks. So bring your evaporating dish, your glass stirring rod up to the front and dump that in the waste container. Then rinse this off, please. Turn it upside down on one of the drying racks, the bottom part. And then everything else you can put back on the tray if it was on the tray, leave on the bench if it was on the bench.